Okay, hi everybody. Here is a video on negative numbers which I've been asked to do to help certain children. So, first of all, what are negative numbers? Well, if you look on our number line, any number to the right of 0 are positive numbers, and any number to the left of 0 are negative numbers. Now, as you can see, in front of negative numbers, there's like a minus sign. For positive numbers, you don't generally see that positive sign, but we could go along the number line and put a positive symbol in front of each and every one. But we rarely see that when we're tackling number problems. So anything to the left, so going below the number line, below the 0, is minus, and anything above the 0, so to the right of it, is positive. Okay? So we'll start off by comparing a few to see which ones are bigger or smaller. So when we compare numbers, we use the greater than, less than, or equal to sign. Okay, so our first two numbers we're going to compare is -2 and -3, or we can call them -2 and -3. So if we look back at our number line, I'm going to circle -2 and I'm also going to circle -3. Now, this is where negative numbers can become a little bit tricky, because everybody's used to looking at the number 2 and the number 3 and automatically knowing that number 3 is greater than number 2. And you would be right, because the further you go to the right up the number line, the larger the numbers. We all know that. But when you go into negative numbers and you're going further down the line to the left, the smaller the numbers are getting. So although you can see that these numbers, if they were on the positive side, are actually larger, in this case, when you go into negative numbers, they're actually getting smaller. So we know that 3 is further down the line below 0 and is actually smaller than -2. So I'd put the greater than sign, the crocodile eating the -2 because it's greater than 3. Okay, so if I look at -18 and -6, well, I know that on my number line, 18 would be further down the line, further away from 0, so we're getting smaller and smaller. So actually -6 is larger than -18. Okay, and I've put a real extreme one here, really to explain to you and get it across to you that the lower you go down the number line, so you could be looking at a horizontal number line or one that's been rotated, so a vertical number line, doesn't matter, it's still the same thing. Okay, 248 is much further down the number line than -10. So -10 is larger than -248. Okay, I hope that makes sense. And it'd be really important to use this as we're going along. So, a few of you are stuck on the MyMaths work where you are adding and subtracting, multiplying and dividing positive and negative numbers together. So this is a really easy trick for you to use when you are adding or subtracting negative and positive numbers. So first of all, I look at the number that I start on. So I've been given -6. So I'm going to start on -6 and I'm going to draw a little man. Okay, I'm going to draw my little man. And I'm going to put a head there. But I'm not going to draw any arms, I'll tell you why in a minute. So I then, once I've drawn my man on the number that I've started on, I'm then going to look at the operation and its addition. Then I'm going to draw my one arm and it's going to point towards the operation. So if it was negative I draw the arm going that way, pointing to the negative number. But because it's the positive, the addition sign, I'm going to point the arm towards the positive sign. Then I look at whether it's negative or positive. So we know that when it's negative, you jump back, and when it's positive, you jump forwards. So it's a -2, so I'm going to be jumping back 1, 2. And my man will then end up on -8. Okay? So -6 plus -2 equals -8. I'm going to show you again. So what number are we on? Well, we're on -7, so I'm going to draw my man on -7 without any arms to start off with. I then look at the operation. The operation is minus, so I'm going to draw my arm towards the minus. I then look at the next number and the operation in front of it. Well, it's negative. So I know that when I am subtracting a number, I move back. So I'm going to move back 2, -2. 1, 2. And I draw my man on the new number that I've landed on the number line, which is -5. So -7 minus -2 is -5. Okay, I'm going to now give you a number problem. You can pause the screen, give it a go, and then I'm going to go back through the answer. Okay, so I'm going to give you -4 plus -5. Okay, pause the screen, give it a go, and then come back. Okay, guys, so first of all, what we need to do is draw our man on top of the number that we are starting on, so that's -4. So remember to draw your man without any arms on it. Okay, then you're going to look at the operation. The operation is addition. So plus, we're going to draw our arm pointing at the plus sign. Then we're going to subtract 5. And you know that when you take away or subtract, you go backwards. So it's behind the man. So we're going to move 5 backwards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we end up with our new man on -9. So -4 plus -5 is -9. Okay, if you still don't quite understand that, rewind the video, listen to what I say, okay, and then give it a go, give it a practice before you then move on to multiplication and division of negative and positive numbers. Okay, but that's a really, really handy trick for you to use when you're adding and subtracting negative and positive numbers. Okay, so moving on, we're going to look at now multiplying and dividing negative and positive numbers, and here are the rules for multiplying. So if you've got a negative number and you're multiplying it by another negative number, the answer is always positive. Okay, if you are multiplying a negative number by a positive number, so a number without a negative or minus sign in front of it, the answer is always negative. And we know that when we multiply, it's commutative. So what that basically means is, it doesn't matter what the order of the two numbers are. So let's say the order is the other way around. So I put 6 in front of the 5, look, in front of the -5. The answer is always the same. So again, positive multiplied by a negative number, the answer will be negative. Okay? So, and I'll show you how that works. So I've got a -4 and I'm multiplying it by -3. So remember, when you multiply two negative numbers together, the answer is going to be positive. And we know that 4 multiplied by 3 is 12. So a negative multiplied by a negative equals a positive. Okay, let's look at this one. Keep referring back to your rules if you forget. Negative multiplied by a positive. The answer is going to be it's going to be a negative, isn't it? So -6 multiplied by 2 is -12. Okay, because double 6 is 12, and we know that a negative times a positive equals a negative. All right, show you another one. This time is a positive multiplied by a negative number, and when you multiply a positive by a negative, refer back to your steps to success. It's going to be a negative number. So 6 times 6 we know is 36, and we know that the answer is going to be a negative number. So basically, guys, if the symbols are the same, so both negative, the answer is going to be positive. If they're different, they're going to be negative. Okay, so moving on to dividing positive and negative numbers. Again, exactly the same rules. If the symbols are the same, it's going to be positive. If they are different, it's going to be negative. So here's a few. Now, 64 divided by 8. How many 8s are in 64? Okay, well, I know the inverse. I ate and I ate until I was sick on the floor. So I know that there are 8 8s in 64 because 8 times 8 is 64. Now, what's the problem? Well, it's a negative divided by a positive, and if we refer back, we know that the symbols are different, so it's going to be a negative answer. So although 64 divided by 8 is 8, because the symbols are different, we're going to end up with a negative number, a negative answer. Okay? And then finally, 27 divided by -3. So I'm just going to write this one out for you. What can you tell me about these two symbols? I'll tell you what, I'm going to pause the screen there. So you pause the screen yourself, give that a go, and then replay and I'll go through the answer. Okay, so pause it now. Okay, guys, so 27 divided by 3. Well, how many 3s are in 27? I know that there are 9 because 9 times 3 is 27. Okay, but what's the problem with my answer? Well, the two symbols are different. This one's a positive number. This one is a negative number. So if the symbols are different, we're going to end up with a negative answer. So although there are 9 3s in 27, because we've got a negative answer, it's going to be -9. Okay, so just to recap, really important for you to remember when you are multiplying and you are dividing negative and positive numbers together, if the symbols are the same, so negative multiplied by negative, you're going to get a positive answer. If the symbols are different, so it might be a negative multiplied by a positive, you're going to always end up with a negative answer. And obviously, if it was positive multiplied by positive, you're going to get a positive answer because the symbols are the same. Okay, I hope that really helps you guys. Obviously, replay the video, go back through it, go back onto the My Maths, see if you can up level your work on it. And yeah, and then please drop me a message just to say whether this helped you or not. And if it didn't, I can do another YouTube video, or I can speak to you directly. It's, you know, either way, absolutely fine doing it. All right. Hopefully that helped you guys.